take out a sheet of paper, fold it in half, and just put your first name on it so the 57-year-old can see it. That's a table tent, and make sure I can see it. Yeah, everybody needs to take it up. That will help me a little bit. You probably don't know a whole lot about me. Let's see, who was born before 1990? Okay, who was born before 1995? Okay, I was born in 1957. The same year Sputnik went up. You know what Sputnik is? Soviet satellite. All right, so I don't care if you take notes, it doesn't matter to me. Just put your first name on, don't put your last name unless you already did. I want to be able to see it. Got two things that are coming around. They'll come around later, because you'll read them. I want you to wait. But one's some passages about, I am a Christian, just in case you didn't know that. I know it may not seem like that if you've been in my office. But there's a thing about attitudes. All these scriptural passages. I did a devotion a few weeks back with our athletic staff. I'm going to tell you a little bit about athletics and how things are run if I get to that. And then there's just a little message that I did at church one time, actually at a conference, a leader like Moses. I thought you would benefit from having this. Because Moses is kind of an interesting guy. But I didn't spell his name right on the title. It says, a leader like Moses. So I'll give that to you towards the end of the class, okay? Towards the end of the period. Okay, so I'm going to inflate these numbers just a teeny bit because it'll make better impact. All right. I was the second. Wait a second. Valerie, what kind of day did I have today? What do you think? Yeah, good day. Sure. Chris, what kind of day? Good day. Yeah, certainly proud about that. Andrea, what kind of day? We talked just a teeny bit before class. Think I've had a good day? Yeah. All right. Eric, what kind of day? I need your table tent. You got it up? Okay, good. Good day. All right, good deal. Hey, come on in. You're late. Put your first name on that table tent if you would, please. All right. Yeah, I'm just asking a question. What kind of day did I have? And so far, everybody said I've had a great day. You don't know what kind of day I had. You really don't know. And neither should you. You shouldn't necessarily know if I've had a bad day. Because I'm a leader. And so you don't know what kind of day I've had. I'm a teacher. Everything I do, I try to teach. Got 4 kids, 3 biological kids, 1 kid from China. We've got 6 grandchildren. I have a wife. She's always crabby in the morning. So every morning when I get up, I'm in a good mood, and I'll throw her on the ground and start tickling her if she gets up in a bad mood. I have figured out this weird phenomena about my family. It's crazy. The way that I act is exactly what happens to my family the whole day. That's the truth. I figured out that if I get up and I'm whining and stuff like that, my wife will have a negative attitude all day. It is absolutely amazing. So you know what I do on Saturday mornings? I run up to, what's that place called?
Crispy Panera?
Panera, yeah. Bread company. And I get my wife one of those caramel decaffeinated mochas. And I've already exercised, I've done my devotion, I've probably done a couple different chores, and she's still in bed. And that's the first thing she sees when she gets up. So what do you think Saturdays are like?
Awesome.
Pretty freaking cool. Hey, can I give you, here's a teaching tip. I teach methods of teaching, mostly to adult learners at Satellites, and I also teach in health and sports science in the graduate program, and work with doctoral students. I've got a teaching tip for you. This is great. All right. Here's the teaching tip. I tell them stay out of the teacher's lounge, because teacher's lounge is always negative. I'm going to tell you, stay away from people that are, negative. You ready? Here's the second half of that. Because what you eat is indeed what you poop. That's great. That's why I close the door. Brenda Bradford come down here and have me fired. Yeah, think about it. What you eat is what you poop. That's the truth. Now, that seems a little bit graphic, but I think you can relate that. And whoever I hang out with is the way that I will be. And so I'm very careful to choose who I'm with. I'm very careful to choose what I watch, because I'm a guy, for heaven's sakes. If I watch some weird things, I'm probably going to be looking in a different place than I should be with my wife. All right? If I watch, I'm a guy, I don't like the horror things. Some of you probably like it. That's cool. It gives me the weirded things, you know, at nighttime. When I go to sleep, I'll have these weird dreams. So I'm very careful about what I take in with my eyes. I'm very careful about what I do. I'm very careful about who I hang out with. And as I've taught my other 3 children that are raised, they have to be the influencer, not the influencee. So if you are the person that is influenced very easily, then you need to stay away from the negative people. When I was a teacher, I actually enjoyed going into the teacher's lounge, and I remember the first day I taught at DeSoto High School when I was teaching down there, and the lady goes, "Hey, can I see what we've got?" And a bunch of teachers gathered around me, "Welcome, Mr. Smith, welcome." And they looked and they go, "Oh, you've got John Kite? Oh my gosh." Now think about that. That poor guy, I've never even met him yet. And I've already formed an opinion because of those teachers and their negative. So now when I've gone into teachers' lounge, I go, "Yeah, I can't wait to have John Kite. What, did you fail one? You couldn't handle it?" That kind of thing. So, check this out. I had to write this on a sheet of paper, but I was a secondary teacher. Most secondary teachers, an average of 6 hours a day, about 25 students. That would equate to 150 kids. But you multiply that by a semester, you've got 300 students. If you're a secondary teacher, you teach about 300 students a year, okay? And so then if you are the average teacher and you work 25 years, that comes up to 7,500 students that I would have influenced in my life as a secondary teacher or a coach. Now think about this though. If 5%, and statistically 5% of the people I taught would become teachers as well. Here's where I inflate the numbers. I'm going to act like they were all secondary teachers, which they wouldn't be, because if you're elementary, you teach a lot less. But if they were all secondary teachers, I would do all the numbers just like I did, and in one generation, actually, with all the students that I would have taught, the 7,500 plus the people that they would have influenced, here is the number of students that I would have the potential of influencing in one generation. 2,820,000 people. Now let's just show you kind of how important my job is. Now I teach methods of teaching. I teach 6 hours a semester. That's fall, spring, and summer. And this is the first year I'm only doing that. Normally I teach 9. The average pre-service teacher class load is somewhere between 20 and 30. So I am teaching pre-service teachers how to teach, and I'm trying to encourage them about the importance of teaching. What kind of day did I have? Haley? You don't know.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine if I screwed up with one of those classes, with those 20 people that are going to have this kind of influence in one generation? That's what leaders do. That's what leaders do. They recognize the importance of their calling, and it supersedes the personal issues that may be going on. It wouldn't be fair for you if I was to bring all the trash to you when I'm teaching you or when I'm trying to encourage you. So, you know, I'm the athletic director. We have about 67 people in athletics that report to me. I got to put this back in my wall or I'll forget. A little bit of ADD action going on. And 67 people, think about that. 730 students are on athletic aid. I have a big responsibility. How many are athletes? Raise your hand. Okay, so you know what it's like to be on the second day of school, generally the second day of school, and we have that meeting over there. All right, raise your hand again if you're an athlete, and hold them up for just a second so I can look. Okay, Chris, what did you think that when you first heard me that second day of school in front of all the athletes? Tell the truth.
I thought you were pretty intimidating.
Thank you. I cannot tell you how pumped I am that you felt that way. Okay, there's another, well, you've heard it several times, but what did you think the first time you heard me speak at those athlete meetings?
Pretty intense, like,
Yeah.
you're not joking.
Were you afraid? Have you noticed that every time I have those meetings, for you, those of you who don't know what happens, we have all the athletes together and I go over the rules. And I basically say, look, that's fine, if you want to steal a donut, go ahead, it's going to cost you $500 for that donut. You do not steal. You make sure you park in the right spots. All those kinds of things.
But you're also real too.
Well, I try to be towards the second semester. Freshmen are all stupid as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Is anybody freshman here? I love you. You're not stupid. You're the only ones that are not stupid. So, yeah, I'm intimidating. You, why would I do that? Yeah, because I figure if I'm intimidating like that, I have at least until mid-October before the freaks come out of the woodwork. All right? So I do the same thing in the spring. It's all an act. I'm really a nice guy. How many believe that? Don't raise your hand. Don't vote. I don't want to hold anything against you. Supervise 67 people, 730 athletes. It's imperative that I'm always on my game. Always. We actually, before a person is hired, they go through a very rigorous interview process. Because I consider Missouri Baptist probably the premier NAIA institution in the Midwest. We have a ton of great student-athlete programs, and we compete at high levels. But I hold the coaches very accountable. For example, in the staff retreat, we have a 3-day staff retreat before school begins, before you even come onto campus. And the last day, the coaches have to tell me what the average GPA of their program is going to be by the end of the spring semester. All right? Did you know that during performance reviews, that depending on how many discipline problems that they have, and depending on what the grade point averages are, and retention of student athletes, that I hold them accountable to that? Did you know that? Did you know that every single coach has a quota that they have to make? And let me just tell you, we have never, ever, ever missed our target. Never. Not one time. We have always exceeded our targets. Okay? Now, here's the deal. We plan, we talk, we do so many things together because we're concerned about making sure we do the right things. Most coaches have to teach 6 hours. The reason is I want them in the classroom. I want them to understand it's just not about wins and losses, but it's also about influencing young people. All right? It's imperative to us that we keep you as long as we can because we say that we have this little window of opportunity. Before you work for us, you go through, there are 3 people that are selected in the search committee, and we do a national search of coaching staff, of people. So if we had a basketball position open, we would advertise in the NCAA, the NAIA, and Men's Basketball Association, or Women's, depending on which coach is open. We probably get on the average of anywhere from 400 to 700 inquiries about that. They have to send us a letter, a cover letter. They have to send us a resume, and they have to send us a statement of Christian faith. What do you think happens if they don't send us a letter of Christian or a statement of Christian faith? What do you think we do with that? Reject. And we always say in the advertisement, send it. And usually it's to John Yaling. He's usually in charge of the search committee. And so what do you think happens the day after we post it in my office? What do you think's happening? No, not yet. I'm getting a bunch of phone calls. Meredith, who's my assistant, she's a stud. She's like a little chihuahua. She'll devour you in one bite. She'll answer the phone, Dr. Smith's office, and they'll say, yeah, may I please speak to Dr. Smith? And we always know what's going to happen. May I ask you what this is requiring? Well, I just had a few questions about the basketball position. Can I ask your name, sir? Billy White. Okay, thank you. Well, Dr. Smith is not available right now. I just encourage you to go ahead and follow the process. As soon as she gets off the phone, do you know what she does? She writes Billy White on the spreadsheet for a reject. Do you know why? Anybody? Hannah? Billy White didn't follow the procedure. I'm not going to hire somebody who can't follow procedures. They go, a candidate, they will bring top 10 out of the 400 to 600 people, whatever, to me. And the 3 people on the search committee say, Tom, we're ready to give you the top 10, and my job is to whittle it down to the top 3. Now, this is really important for me to make sure I hire the right person. So, is it Tegan? How long is that meeting when the 3 search committee people bring all those resumes and statement of faith? How long is it for me to come to emerge the top 3, do you think? Think about it, it's an important decision.
A week?
A week, that sounds pretty good. Brad, what do you think? A month, okay. Shannon?
I'm gonna go different direction and say full hours.
Okay, less than 5 minutes. Do you know why? Because I have this ridiculous ability to look at a sheet of paper and if there's a misspelled word, reject. You have to have everything perfect. Now that may seem very anal to you, but it tells me that this person really wants the job when they're smart enough to do the best job they can and make sure everything's perfect. And if I don't even like the look of the resume, reject. Once we get the top three, Meredith starts lining it up, and these three guys that are part of the search committee, each will have a 45-minute conversation with each of the three candidates first on the phone. And the first question they're going to say is, tell us what you know about Missouri Baptist University. And you know what? Most of the time they don't know anything. Are they rejected? No. But they start telling them, and they say, well, gosh, we got to tell you a little bit about, we got to tell you about what we do at Missouri Baptist. And by the way, I want to encourage you to get on the Spartan website sometime and look up the mission statement, because this athletic director, when he took over, he didn't make any changes for 3 months, and then he took us on a 3-day staff retreat. And you know what? We read this book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And in The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, he centered his management style around it. I'd encourage you to pick up that book. I'll just give you one dysfunction. You know, the antithesis of a dysfunctional team is a functional team, right? Here's one dysfunction of a team: fear of conflict. So they might ask the question over the phone, what do you think about conflict? What do you think? Wearing your Missouri State University sweatshirt.
My
We
sister
should-
goes there.
Okay, tell her I said hi. I said Missouri Baptist one. What do you think? Do you fear conflict? Do you like conflict?
No, but I deal with it in a way that's harmonizing. You know, you don't want to be aggressive with it.
Okay, I like to
I
be
don't think
aggressive.
so.
But that's okay.
That's how I do it.
This is crazy, but I love conflict. And so our search committee guys are telling John, who's applied on the phone, or Matt, Bill, well, we love conflict. And you need to pick up the book, because here's what we believe is that when you're part of the team, there's no rookies, and everybody's got to do their part. So in a staff meeting, if you came to our staff meeting, sometimes they get a little aggressive. I want that. I want to make the best decision. It's not a democracy. Don't misread that. But it's important to get the input of people that you hired, and to believe in your people enough that they can come and say, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And so good teams don't fear conflict. As long as there's no collateral damage, conflict is good. And when you get married, you'll understand that. My wife and I will go at it occasionally, but you know what? When I walk out the door, there's no more. It's over. There's no collateral damage. I love the girl. She loves me. Okay? And so they'll encourage them to get this book. Guess what? Call number 2 comes about 3 days later, 4 days later, and they know it. First question that's asked lasts about 45 minutes. Tell us what you know about Missouri Baptist University. By then, we're listening. Well, I got on your website, and I noticed you guys are part of the NAIA. I noticed you do a lot of community service, and you know what? I picked up that book, and I started reading it. It's a really short book, very good book. And they'll say, well, let me tell you a little bit more about this mission statement. He took us on this retreat. It's a different person now. Remember, 3 people on the search committee, and we've whittled it down to 3 candidates. So where Iris may have talked to Bill, now John's talking to me. And he'll say, well, here's what he did. We read this book, and at the end, the athletic director asked us 2 questions. Okay? Who are we? And who do we want to be? And what we did was we came up with 20 flip chart. You know those big flip chart things? 20 of them. We put them all around the room. Well, we're Christian. We're biblically based. We're this. We want to compete. Blah, blah, blah. And we picked 5 people to bring all those together and make a mission statement. Why would we? What's so important about a mission statement? I mean, is it really important?
So you know where you're headed?
Exactly. Do you know very many companies actually follow it? We do. We've made this succinct statement. Here's basically what it says. most of the coaches would be able to tell you, Missouri Baptist University Athletics is in full support of the mission of the university. That's number one. We're gonna do what the university likes, okay? We subscribe to the 5 core values of the NAIA, which are respect, responsibility, servant leadership, integrity, and sportsmanship. We are biblically based and Christ-centered, and we endeavor to compete at the conference and national levels, and we want to be fiscally responsible. That's basically what it says. That's who we are, and that's who we want to be. And so, the athletic director and any interview committee will not hire you unless that's who you are and who you want to be. Wow. So we're starting, you see what you know what we're doing? We're actually orienting 3 potential coaches before we even hire them. We're going to only hire 1, and we're orienting them. This is leadership. Oh, by the way, there's a great book. Now, Eric,
Yeah.
you look like a pretty outstanding young man. Have you ever been to Disney World?
No.
Do you wish you were? Had you wish you'd gone as
Yeah,
a kid?
I guess.
Yeah, you want to go. All right, good. How many have been to Disney World or Disneyland? Good. Those of you, keep your hand up real high just for a second. Keep it up. Put it down only if you don't want to go back. Okay, just a few. You freaks. When you get children, you're going to want to go back. Disney is the most visited thing, amusement park from generation to generation. Most people want to take their kids back. In fact, most people make the mistake of taking them when they're like 4 or 5. That's a disaster. You wait until they get to be 8 or 9. All right? But so you saved up all your money. It's costing you and your wife and your 3 kids each $1,500 to fly down and fly back. You're staying on site. All right? And this is so exciting. You can't wait. You guys arrive. You're there the night before. You're going to be at the park first thing in the morning, and you know it opens up at 8 o'clock. And so you and your wife get there, and you find out that the park did not open up on time after you spent all that money. How would you feel?
Maybe a little disappointing, but sometimes I understand.
So he'd be disappointed. Caleb, how would you feel?
It would depend on the circumstances. If they're not going to open all day, I'd be extremely upset.
Okay. But would you be upset that you were there with your 3 kids, your ankle biters, or gnawing on your ankles and stuff? No? Depends on the circumstances. You don't know the circumstances. All you know is they didn't open on time. How would you feel?
The same way.
You'd be upset? I would be really excited. By the way, every time I ask you a question, it's the opposite of what you think. Okay, and this is a teaching method. I would be so excited. You know why? They never open on time. They always open early. I set you up, sorry. Did you know that every single night Disney paints every single street sign? No, you didn't. Sometimes you can go to a stand and you can order lemonade. If they don't have it, they'll send you down. Hey, see that guy with a bright red shirt and the green pants? That stand has it. When you're walking down there, sometimes they'll radio down and they'll tell that guy, and that guy says, "Sir, were you the one looking for the lemonade?" If you go there, they do 3 parades a day. In 5 minutes, all of the stuff is cleaned up because everybody takes care of it. The people that work for Disney, they're not called employees. They're not called associates. They're called cast members. Do you know why? They consider them always on stage. In fact, when you go through your orientation, when the CEO is available on the last day, that person comes down and pins your name tag on you. That may seem insignificant. We're talking about the CEO of Disney World. That is significant. You know why? Because you're the customer. And that's what our athletic director says, that the student athlete is the customer. By the way, if you ever come to my classes, I ask 2 questions at the end. What stood out, and did you get your money's worth? Because it just really ticks me off when teachers don't do what they're supposed to do and teach. So now this person understands, okay, gosh, they got a management philosophy, they've got a mission statement, this is who we are, this is who we want to be. Now they're focused on customer service. This happens, they go through a 3rd interview over the phone, and guess what? They say, tell us what you know about Missouri Baptist. If they don't know much, they're out. We reject them. Let's assume we like them. The three search committee guys, myself, get together, we whittle it down to 2. Meredith calls and says the athletic director would like to talk to you on Saturday morning. Are you available? Yes. Is 8 okay? Yes. Why on earth would I do Saturday morning? That sounds goofy. Why would I call them on Saturday morning? I'm not seeing them, I'm just calling them right now.
Oh, that's when you call them?
Yeah, I don't wanna waste my time unless I like it. Why would I do it? To get it out of the way? Why Saturday? Guys, where are they gonna be at? I can't, I'm smart enough to know I can't ask questions like, are you married? But I can sure listen. I can hear. Not if I'm calling them. What time do I call, do you think?
You said 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
well, maybe you call at 7:45.
No, I call at 8 o'clock, I look at my cell phone, as soon as it hits it, I hit the last number. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
They're in their own environment, they're at home, so you can hear what's going on in the background.
No, why would I call them exactly at 8? Because I said I would. I'm teaching something. So we'll talk on the phone and then we'll talk about salaries if they want to talk, all that stuff. And then I'll say, I'm excited, are you? Yeah. Tell me about your faith, I'll listen to them. I can usually tell them about 10 seconds if they have a legitimate. Ryan, how you doing? Sorry, I forgot to say hi to you, freak. Where is he at?
Netherlands.
In the Netherlands,
I think.
okay.
I hope.
Yeah, you need to get your butt back here to school. All right.
Everyone else want to say hi to Ryan?
Say hi to Ryan. All right, there you go.
Okay.
Delete that.
I can't.
So we'll talk, and if I can tell them 10 seconds if they're a Christian or not, really, just by the way they talk to me. And if I like them, I'll say, Meredith's going to call you. Guess what? Meredith calls them like on Monday and says, can we fly you in next Tuesday? And calls the next person, can we fly you in next Wednesday? They usually arrive between 12 and 2. We get them set up in a hotel, get them set up in a car. We ask them to bring their spouse. And if we don't know if they're married at that time, we say, listen, we would really like you to bring your spouse. And they'll say, well, I'm not married. Now we know. But if they say, okay, we want to meet the spouse. All right? It's very important for me to meet the spouse. Because the coach is going to be traveling all the time. The coach is going to be on the phone all the time. And I want to make sure this is a mutual thing. I don't want to end any marriages as a result of this person's coaching career. That's not the priority. The family is the priority. Yes,
So
ma'am.
if they say their spouse can't come, do you reject them?
No. But that's never happened. Most of the time the spouse wants to come. We're really serious now. They're thinking about looking at homes, all those kinds of things. And so when we fly them in, the person, like if John first called Bill, John's job is to try to get Bill hired. So he'll act like the mentor. If Iris first called Matt, she'll be acting like she's going to try to get Matt hired. So they'll instruct them, okay, the athletic director would like to go out to dinner with you tonight with his wife and a few people on the interview committee the next morning. Great. Dress casual. Now, if they come and he's wearing a tie or she's too dressy, reject.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. I want people to follow instructions. I remember when we hired this one coach, he came with his 5 o'clock shadow, and I thought, man, this guy really looks cool. I wanted to hire him on the spot.
Sorry.
So anyway, we sit around, and I let a couple coaches bring their spouses. They can't bring their kids, but I always bring Grace, my little Chinese girl, my China doll. That just seems so unfair. Why would I bring Grace and not let the other coaches bring their children? Correct. I don't trust them. I see how people raise their kids. I know Grace is going to keep her mouth shut. She's going to chew with her mouth shut. She'll probably have her left hand on her lap. She's going to be very quiet. She's going to be respectful. But some of the coaches that have kids, wow, it's a problem. Trust me. They'll be running around and they'll be a distraction. And I am watching everything. What did the person order? Now, we're a Baptist school. I'm not legalistic, but if you're bold enough to order a beer in front of the guy who's going to hire you who works at a Baptist school, you ain't getting the job. And I'm not judging. I don't care if people. That's their problem. I don't care. It's not even a problem. I mean, I have no judgment on that stuff. But my point is I'm looking to see if this person's smart. Now, if they order a lobster tail, I'm going to be like, Generally, I just go to Duffy's, by the way. There is no lobster available there. All right? But I watch what they order. I gotta tell you something, this is just a personal problem I have. If they order wings, that's good. If they start licking their fingers, I can't stand that. That makes me sick. This guy's gonna be taking people out to lunch and recruits and their parents, and gonna be licking his fingers the whole time, and spew coming forth. Megan, you guys think I'm nuts. I am very smart. I probably would consider hiring him. But as soon as I get in the car, I'll say, hey, Mary, what did you think? And Mary will say, oh, man, I don't know about that wife. That's a check. That's not going to be a decision maker. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a check. I'm thinking about that. Why? Because I work 50% of my life with these people I spend at work. And if it's miserable and I go home, the rest of the 50%, it's not fair to my family. And I trust my wife. Okay? She is very sharp. So the next day they come and there are 12 people on the interview committee, not the search committee anymore. 10 of them are coaches, 2 of them are students. We have 100 questions. Andrew, how many questions do we ask them about their sport? Because now the rubber meets the road. We're making some decisions. What do you think? Out of 100 questions? 10. You're close. 5 or less. In fact, we haven't even talked about their sport the whole time. We don't have to. We've done our homework. We've got everything going on. We make them, at that point, let us friend them on Facebook. We start checking their Facebook during their interview. We're looking at MySpace. We're looking at any social media we can glean. We're Googling them. You know, we're a Christian school. We cannot afford to hire somebody that doesn't fit that. That's not who we are. That's not who we want to be. Not that we're judging anybody, but it's very, very important to us. Okay, to make sure we know this person really are. By the end of the interview, Meredith is invited in, and she will take them around the campus, and we will dialogue, and we go by unanimous vote. Now, we don't have to do that. I can just make the decision. I deliberately go by unanimous vote. In other words, if there's one dissenting vote, that person doesn't get the job. Even if the student doesn't like that person, the person will not get the job. What do you think about that? Sucks for them.
Yeah.
Why? Because we want the coaching staff to buy into this person. This is all of us buying in. We're all bringing this person on board now. We're all going to embrace this person. And everybody needs to be on board. Meredith Dill, the head athletic trainer. How many of you know her? Raise your hand. Meredith Dill, when she interviewed, she came from Washington University. She was applying for the head job. Brian Jackson, our big, black, and not beautiful wrestling coach, said, okay, you're in the finals of the national championship, and there's 10 seconds left. You hear us, yeah! We think we heard a snap, but we're not sure. The referee stops the match. Athletic trainers out there, you have 2 minutes to get that person ready to wrestle. It's the national championship. He's up by 1-2 points, 20 seconds, something like that left. Do you let that guy wrestle? The athletic trainer's job is to make sure that person's ready to wrestle within 2 minutes. Do you let this senior wrestle? What do you think? Were you following me? No. Were you sleeping? I'm going to kick you in the tail. No. What do you think?
No.
Don't let him wrestle. How many think you got to vote? How many think you let him wrestle? Raise your hand. How many think no? Raise your hand. All right, let's do this again because you're all a bunch of pansies. Get your hands way up in the air. How many think we should say no, you cannot wrestle? How many think you should say yes?
Sure.
How many didn't vote? Well, I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I'll tell you what my answer is. You let him wrestle. He's a senior, for heaven's sakes. If there's not an obvious break, if there's not a compound fracture, an open fracture where the bone's protruding out, like, by the way, those are really cool. I'm serious, I've seen lots of them. They're pretty neat, especially when they're splintered, okay? If that's not obvious, then you let that senior wrestle. And so Brian takes out his stopwatch, our wrestling coach, takes out a roll of tape and throws that big freaking ankle on the table and says, go. And I watched Meredith Dill tape that ankle. I hired her on the spot. It was perfect. Okay. Why do we do that much effort? Because of you. That is leading. that is leading. Leaders don't have to be perfect. I think we see the model in the scriptures that the greatest among you will be your servant. Personally, I think more effective leaders are those that serve, those that lay their lives down for one another. But to be a leader, you've got to believe that God has called you to do that, and then you've got to do it, and you've got to fulfill it. You have an awesome responsibility. Do you realize, by the way, I graduated from this place. I wrestled at SEMO. In my last year, I was married, and I had children, and it took me 6 years to get my undergraduate done last year, only. And I graduated from Missouri Baptist College. Do you know that this is the first time we've ever had a group like this before? Do you understand? You don't. I know you don't. But I will just tell you, it's kind of like starting football for me. I know that 50 years from now, football will be in place, and I had a large part to do with getting this off the ground. Do you understand what God is doing in your life to raise you to the point that you are? So what motivates me? Money doesn't. I guarantee you, this is the God's honest truth. I can make $70,000 to $80,000 anyplace else doing the level of responsibility I have. $70,000 to $80,000 more than I'm making right now. I'm here because number one, I believe that God's called me to be here, and I love the college. Okay, and number two, because I can make a difference by being who I am. And if that means being a little tough, I will be tough, because parents aren't anymore, so sometimes the first opportunity that a kid has to change is when they're confronted with some genuine authority. By the way, the Bible says this, that every father who loves his son disciplines him. So I kind of view that as I'm kind of like a father around here. If I discipline somebody, it's not because I'm bad, it's because I care about them. All right? That is leadership. What am I inspired by? Not the extrinsic thing of salary, but the intrinsic thing of calling. That I know that God has called me to do this, and therefore I got to. Or I'll die, because this is what He's called me to do. So that's just a teeny bit about me. Got a notice last night to come speak to you, so wasn't really totally too prepared, but I wanted to give you a little taste of who I am. So I'm going to open it up for a few minutes for all the questions that you want to ask me about anything, and I'll answer as best as I can. And I expect you to ask me a question. Okay? Yes, sir.
So you said that it doesn't matter like what kind of day you've had, that you always have this, you're happy type persona.
No, well, I mean, I'm not perfect at that, but I realize that it's not fair to you that I take my day out on you. And so I view myself like Disney as a cast member. Like, I'm on stage, I gotta make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to help you succeed.
But does that mean like you don't show emotion? Because then it makes it seem like you're unrealistic.
No, I don't think that necessarily. I think you can show emotion. I just that if I'm fighting with my wife this morning before I leave work, it shouldn't have any bearing on the meeting that you and I have because you broke the curfew on a spring break trip. I should still be reasonable about it and think it through all those things. But that's a great question. And I try, but I'm human. I screw up many times. All right, I'm looking for another question. There's several people in this classroom. I'll start pointing at you in about 5 seconds or less.
What's in that book? It's more on the fear, like, what else is in
5 dysfunctions. Fear of conflict. There's a lot of inattention to results. I would get it. I've got a copy. You're welcome to borrow it. It is the best simple book I've ever read in my life. And it's like a story. So it's interesting. You would get through it in one night. We don't hire anybody until they've read that book and they've read Inside the Magic Kingdom and they've read the 1 Minute Manager. Because the reason for that is that if you read the book, The 1 Minute Manager, that person's pretty, and that's how I am. And so after they read that, they have to talk with Meredith, my assistant, so Meredith could say, don't get your feelings hurt if this or this. This is the management style that he does, and here's why. And so we make sure everybody understands those things. Yeah?
So because you are like this is the way I am,
Yeah.
I'm talking about it. So let's say someone's all very polar opposite of this, like they're very bright green out there, like but they get their stuff done.
Yeah.
How do you work well with them, or is it basically like fall into this leadership style?
That's a great question. That's a great, you know what, I do not